Welcome to Spiritually Raw. We expose and explore controversial truths, myths, and theories surrounding the spirit world. Guests includes investigators, debunkers, and skeptics of the supernatural, unexplained, and flat-out unimaginable. Content discussed on this show is not necessarily the opinion of the cast of Spiritually Raw, and topics quite often are for mature audiences only. This show is not intended to replace any medical, financial, or legal advice and is for entertainment purposes only. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hey everybody, what's going on? I know you have a show to watch, so let me get real quick into this with you. Okay, so Ascended Masters you're watching right now, browse, select, ascend. It's very easy to use. All you have to do is scroll down here. You're going to see the different categories, sessions, courses, products, entertainment, books, conscious business growth. All you do is you simply click on the category that's resonating with you or that you're in need of, and you're going to see a video directory of some of the greatest minds out there. And within 5 to 7 minutes, you'll find out who that person is, what their style is, and if they're going to help you on your journey called life. It's a very easy formula to follow right here. And also too, if you're one of those who does have a product or service that you think that will be a benefit to others and you'd like to be on Ascended Masters, our email is in the description below. It's askspirituallyraw@gmail.com. We'll set up a time to chat and see how you can make a difference in the world for people. So hope you're enjoying the site, everybody. Thanks for sharing this, and much love to you. And most importantly, enjoy the show. We'll see you next time. Hello, everybody. How are you? And welcome to Spiritually Raw. And as always, thank you so much for your energy exchange with us today. We hope you woke to the most miracle morning, and we hope you have the most fortunate day. Very, very cool day. So spirit marriage, yes. This is a cool one. We're about to talk about this here with Dr. Megan Rose, as you can see over there, our soul sister, who's going to share what that even means and what that's about. So we'll get into that in just a second. Thanks, everybody, as always, for hanging out with us. Again, all the links are in the description below. And remember the app, right? You can download us on your phone, Apple and Roku TV. You can watch us on TV there. All of our other stuff's in there. What else am I missing?
Telegram.
And
we're now also on TikTok.
So insane.
We're just working out the TikTok kinks, but it's all good.
So insane. Pray for us, everybody, please. Oh, we're keeping pace with everything, aren't we?
Yes,
all right,
we
so
are.
Dr. Megan Rose, yeah?
Yes. Now, I got to tell you guys, this show is definitely going to be spiritually raw. So be prepared. Dr. Megan Rose is married to a spirit. Yes, you heard me right. She's married to a spirit. This is going to be really interesting. Otherworldly being. We're going to have an in-depth exploration of the practice, relevance, and purpose of spirit marriage around the world, as it is actually a growing practice and it's becoming larger. This is, I think, the second one that we've done. Dr. Megan Rose has a doctorate in East-West psychology and a master's degree in religion. She's an initiated ceremonial magician.
Very cool.
We're going to find out exactly what that means. And a Shakta Tantric practitioner and a senior seer in the house of Brigh. I was going to say that. The house of Brigh, Faery, Seership Institut. She serves as an ordained interfaith minister and psychospiritual counselor and is the executive director of Entheosis Institut. You can connect with her at drmeganrose.com, and there is no H in her name. It's Megan, and we will have all the links in the description. She is the author of Spirit Marriage, Intimate Relationships with Otherworldly Beings. All righty.
All right. Got my attention.
I think you got a lot of people's attention, actually.
Yes, you did. How are you? Welcome, Dr. Megan. It's nice to have you here, and thanks for coming out here, sharing yourself. Okay, so let's dive right in with the obvious. Spirit marriage. Okay, are we talking, as far as your particular case, are we talking in a literal sense?
Yeah, so traditionally spirit marriages, I think I call them the best kept secret. They're sort of like hidden in plain sight. And they've been with us since the dawn of recorded history. I think even before that, we first see them showing up in ancient Mesopotamia, in the marriage of the priests of Ishtar to the goddess. But we see them in contemporary times really sort of blatantly, although we don't think of them necessarily in this way, when a nun in the Catholic tradition marries Jesus, right? She puts a ring on, she takes vows, she becomes his
consort. Yeah.
And she's married to him and to the church. So that's sort of where we see it in, at least here in the Western tradition, most obviously, but it's really been, when I did my research, I did this as a PhD dissertation, this research project, mostly because I was trying to figure out what was going on with me, right? I was having this spirit that was contacting me and asking to marry me, and I had no clue what was going on. And so I, being a scholar and, an academic, but also a practitioner, I was like, well, I better research this because I'm probably not the only one that's having this experience, right? So that's why I did the research, was to really set the foundation and open up the discussion about how this is really a living practice that is transcultural. It's seen in almost every single culture that I surveyed. And, the more that this research gets out, the more people are coming forward and saying, oh yeah, I'm totally having these experiences.
There's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So the one thing I want to start with, this spirit was contacting you and said they want to marry you. Okay, so let's just unpack that one. How are you getting the communication? When did it start? And who was it?
Yeah, so for me, it started about 20 years ago. And as Jay said, I had gone to seminary and done my master's in religion. And so I knew that there was like historical evidence for this, but I like to call myself, I was sort of pagan light at the time. I wasn't really on a specific path other than being a seeker and being sort of, in a broad sense, an interfaith practitioner. And then I started having dreams. And these dreams were what are classified as extraordinary dreams, or paranormal dreams, meaning that they were different than like a dream where you're thinking about what you had for lunch or stressing about, the day ahead or whatever.
Were they sexual dreams?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes there was sexual, in the sense that the vitality, right, the erotic energy would rise up inside of me. What later on I would understand as Kundalini Shakti, right, rising up and releasing in the body, but not in a sense that I was well, I shouldn't say that. They were erotic, right? There were times where they were very specifically erotic, but with the purpose of, if y'all understand anything about Tantra, with the purpose of using that energy as a way of activating, right? A way of activating and transforming the body.
Didn't feel violated, in other words.
No. I mean, there are instances in anthropological and esoteric literature of what are called incubi and succubi, right? Paranormal beings that do take the erotic into sort of more of a, like, it's non-consensual. In my case, it was more of this contact, asking to marry me, and as the relationship deepened, that part was present. And for a very long time, it was just in the dream state. That's not necessarily the case for everybody. Some people go into a trance or a visionary state and they encounter a being that wants to marry them. And in some traditions, the being will actually appear to the priest, the priestess, the minister, or the spiritual guide of the person and say, I want to marry so-and-so. And in those traditions, it's usually that's a well-known thing. It's sort of a known thing that's practiced within the tradition, and the spirit will appear. And that's one of the ways that it's validated, right? That's one of the ways you get your checks and balances, is when the spirit appears to somebody else and says, yes, I want to marry them. Yeah.
So I want to let me get a couple in here if I can for you too. So this 20 years, at what point during that, so when it started 20 years ago, at what point did you say, okay, let's get married? Let's go ahead and do this. How long have you been married to the spirit?
It may not even be
I was very suspect, right? Because I have background as a esotericist, but also, as a psychologist, I wanted to make darn sure that I was not making this up. And so that, like, this was something that I wanted to get into. And so I didn't say yes right away. I was pretty stubborn. I said, well, woo me. Right? If you really want this level of a commitment from me, then I need to know who you are. I need to know what your agenda is. I need to know what the purpose of this marriage
Was this telepathic communications you were having?
Usually done in either ritual, like a ritual setting, or in the dream state.
In the dream state.
Yeah.
So when you weren't in the dream state, in the ritual setting, then did you have to invoke this person and say, hey, okay, come on, let's talk? Was a ritual, were you performing the ritual that would invoke it? Is that what that would look like?
I mean, for me, for a long time, I just sort of waited for him to ring my doorbell in the dream state. And then when that contact sort of started diminishing, I realized that I was, in essence, putting all the responsibility on him to contact me. And then I needed to sort of step up my game and reach out to him more. And so that's when and by that time I had initiated into ceremonial magic and into the Faery Seership Institute. So I had found mentors and support people to help me learn the practices and the protocols for reaching out to spirit and various entities. And so I cultivated different practices that would help me reach out to him.
I got you.
And where is he located? Like he's
Yeah, so the being that I connect with, it's interesting because for a long time I couldn't get a specific cosmological location. It was like, I'm sort of like this, I'm sort of like this. He's mostly connected to the green realm, the vegetative world. He shows up transculturally as sometimes the horned god, sometimes a Pan-like figure, but this fecund nature spirit that also governs our beloved dead and the underworld and all of the sort of elemental realms. And so for a long time, we sort of went back and forth around what was the easiest way, what was the easiest deity form for him to show up for me that I was going to have the most support and guidance around. And so we sort of landed eventually on Gwyn ap Neath, who is the Welsh Lord of the Fae and Lord of the Underworld, centered mostly at Glastonbury Tor, which I've been to a number of times. So once I got that name, then it sort of opened a deeper level of contact. And after that, and that took me about 10 years for us to sort of land on that identity.
Pretty committed girl.
Have you had
That's commitment.
So 10 years of you kind of getting to be able to land on that part of it there. Have you just life that happens there? Have you been faithful and with any other spirit, whether it be physical in another world during that time?
I was married at the time when he started showing up.
Okay. And how long?
How'd your husband feel about that?
He's a Faery Seership practitioner. We're poly, so we were poly.
Okay.
So that was less of an issue than when my human partner now started showing up aspecting or channeling Gwen, who was not my husband. And so that was a whole negotiation in our relationship around how to make space for that. And
hold on, let me make sure I just got what you said. Okay, so now your human partner, was he channeling your spirit partner?
Yeah.
Okay, is that still going on as well? And wouldn't that be easier?
It can be in some ways. I mean, then you're sort of, if you think of like the deity yoga practices where you see the god or the goddess and your beloved, and they're sort of aspecting or channeling that being for you in the divine union practices. It can be a really lovely practice. And yes, I mean, I would say that in the very beginning of our relationship, Gwen came through really strongly, and he already knew that he was sort of attuned to that energy before we met. And so it was pretty powerful. And then as we've been together 10 years now, and as our relationship sort of matured, it's less about him channeling that being and more about us doing the work that we are here to do in the physical, and Gwen and I here to do the work that we are here to do co-creatively.
So then basically you have two relationships then. At this point, you have your Gwen, your spirit, and then you have your other partner that you live with, your Yeah.
But then Gwen, your other partner, when there's time for intimacy, he channel or she and the channels Gwen, right? Is that how that works?
At times, yeah.
Okay, and then Gwen will take the they will take the embodiment of Gwen, or however you explain that. Got it. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so I got you. So when you go through this is pretty cool. So when you actually start doing this for 10 years now, when you went through this part of it for the first 10 years, and if you had a supportive partner, right, at that point in time, what do you think took 10 years? Does that, to be able to say,
You get the name, you mean?
to get the name and to really just be like dive in and
Yeah.
we're on
it was mostly number one, I was raised Pentecostal Christian. So, first off, out of the gate, I was speaking in tongues and laying on of hands and channeling the Holy Spirit, right? So those practices were really familiar to me as a child, and then through my young adulthood. And then later on, as I went to seminary and began to study religion more as a scholar, I was not practicing Pentecostalism. I was sort of in this in-between state, and then I began to practice more ceremonial magic and pagan practices. But along that line, there was still all that programming, right? We were still dealing with all the programming that we were raised with, that we have to work fairly hard when we leave a religion of our upbringing to dismantle. And part of my programming was this fear, right? Fear of the underworld, fear of the fecund, fear of sexuality. And part of those 10 years was when sort of helping me rewire my nervous system so that I could run that energy more cleanly and more clearly, and so that I could hear and connect with him without it sort of setting off all of my bells and whistles in a bad way, right?
Do you think, is there some part? Okay, so first of all, I want to just, for our audience sake, because you said poly, can you just address that quick definition for those who've just heard that for the first time? Poly.
Sure. Polyamory is having more than one intimate relationship with a human, but I would extend it to non-human, non-physical entities with the knowledge and consent of everyone involved.
Got it. Okay. So when you I know so much. When you started to meet, okay, so when you met your physical mate, you were poly at that time, right? 20 years ago, is that right to say that? Do you think there's a sense of you that says, maybe was your physical mate ever at a point of saying, okay, do you think that the spirit came through more so for the sake of your physical mate? You see what I mean? So you wouldn't have to necessarily take on another physical partner, and then this way your physical mate could control the other relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. I would say that I, prior to either of my human partners at the time, I was single when the spirit started showing up and wanted to marry me. And that was, a number of years of me just trying to research spirit marriage and what was going on. And then along the way, I met my now ex-husband, and we were in a really powerful spiritual partnership where we were sort of each other's spiritual cheerleaders. And at some point, I asked my my spirit lover, Gwen, if he would find a suitable human, thinking it would be my husband, for us to be able to work with, because there were certain things, and I won't go into all the details, as a tantric, that to me felt really powerful activation wise in my body, if it could be done in more of a eros gamos, human to human interface. So that I did a ritual around that. I asked Gwen for that. Unfortunately, as spirits sometimes are, it was not my human husband that he chose to move through. It was someone else in my community. And so then that sort of put us on the path of negotiating a poly triad for a while. And we were in that, the three of us were in a relationship for about 7 years. And then,
how did you recognize Megan, how did you recognize that other person that Gwen came into? Was it, hey, I'm that person? Did they show up like that? Was it that obvious? Or what was the?
We were sitting having lunch. It was someone I met in my PhD program, and we were sitting having lunch, and we were talking about some of the pagan tradition, and we were talking about Glastonbury tour, and he told me that he had gone and done a ritual at the tour asking for the goddess to send him a priestess, to send him someone who would consort with him, who would be his beloved. And we were also talking about some other things having to do with pagan spirituality, and that somatic response that Gwen elicited in my body rose up and out of me. And I was sort of sitting there, at the table vibrating, thinking, oh my gosh, oh my Lord, oh my goodness.
And then how did you address that?
Right. How'd you address that?
So this is where the checks and balances thing comes in. I had a spiritual mentor, and I went and talked to him. And I said, this is what's going on. And he knew my husband. We were both students of his. And I was like, this is what's going on. What do I do? He's like, well, honey, you need to talk to them. You need to talk to both of them and explain to them what's going on. And maybe this is only meant to be an energetic thing. Like maybe it's not meant to be a human physical thing, but it's pretty powerful, and you need to, follow this. And so that's what I did. And I should back up and say that before I even talked to my spiritual mentor, after that experience at eating lunch, I had a dream, and my dream, that very night, I went to my husband and I said, so-and-so is supposed to be my consort. And my husband said, okay. And then in my dream, I went to my now partner and said, you're supposed to be my consort. And he said, okay. And I woke up from the dream and I was like, no. I don't have the space. I'm in a PhD program. I don't have the bandwidth to take on a polyamorous relationship. And I had that dream 3 times. I had it 3 times, 3 nights in a row. And that's when I was like, oh, crap, I can't ignore this, because I'm a pretty powerful dreamer. And
that's obvious.
Yeah. So that's when I went to my spiritual mentor, and he said I needed to talk to them. And over a period of like 6 months, really, I talked to my partner. The 3 of us met. And then eventually I talked to the other partner. And that's when sort of we embarked on this grand adventure of being in a triad for about, like I said, 7 years.
And then was it your husband, your ex-husband, was it your ex-husband that said, I got to step away?
It was consensual. I mean, he's still one of our best friends, but he was in a relationship at the time, and she was wanting a deeper commitment, and it didn't seem to make so much sense for us to stay legally married anymore, because it was just causing, some complications there for him. And so we transitioned our relationship. We had, a very conscious divorce, and just transitioned into being beloveds, into being, Anamkara, soul family.
What takes one from speaking in tongues, because we hear this often, to just the other end of the spectrum? Is there some sense of you looking back from your scholarly side of yourself? Do you think there's any part of that is just really just literally just some sort of backlash towards all that, to just really, rebelling against that completely? Do you think you went to there just to be able to do that? Or do you think maybe more of a hybrid scenario? Or do you think this is this is good for you where you're at? Are you happy where you're at? Hello, everybody. How are you? Much love to you. It's very good to see you and hang out with you. I hope you're having a fantastic day here. So let me give you some updates about what's going on with Spiritually Raw. So as you can see right here, right, a new facelift. I hope you like it. Okay, so this is the new facelift, the image of the site. So watch Evolve Ascend. It's very cool, very streamlined. Everything's broken down in very easy catalogs, playlists for you to watch whatever kind of topic you're looking for to help you on your journey called life. So let's check it out together. All right. So literally here you go, the home page right here. You can scroll down. If you're already a member, same login and password as you normally do. If you're not, you can click right here, join now, get a 3-day free trial, check out and binge on the whole network as much as you want. I hope you like it, and I'm sure you will, but that's 3 days on us. Okay, so don't forget to check that out if you're not already. Here's some videos that are recent that we just put up there that you'll be able to check here. Now, also too, I want to go back here real quick, catalog. So this is how we've broken it down for you. Super simple and very easy playlist. New releases, intuitive psychic mediums, the Great Awakening, metaphysical, current events, 2020 videos for those of you who want to take a trip down memory lane and see how that all worked out. Prosperity, special report, I mean, so on and so forth. I mean, it goes on and on and on. We have really brought together the best minds out there that are coming in to entertain us, but then to break it down so simple, again, to help us on our journey called life. So this is really cool here. So also, I want to point out here for those of you who have actually said, hey, you know, I do want to have my own show. We also have a master course preview, and that's there to designed to teach all of you who would like to have your own show, or maybe even need some help in being interviewed when you are on other shows too. But let's go down a little further. I want to show you something else. So for all of you out there who have Roku, you simply need to click here and you can now watch us on Roku TV. Coming soon, within the coming weeks, within probably a week or so, you'll see us on the iPhone, Apple. We're streaming everywhere. You'll be able to download the app soon on Apple. But as of right now, like I said, you can stream us anywhere there. So, and these are some examples of the topics that you're going to be watching when you do go to spirituallyraw.live. So thank you very, very much for hanging out with us, as you always do. Really do hope you are having the most miracle mornings and are having the most fortunate days. And this really is bringing you a lot of value. And again, helping you on your journey called life. So thanks again, and we will see you all next time.
We'd like to share a story. While it may sound fictional, it's very real and happening right now in front of our very eyes. It's called the Great Awakening. Our sisters and brothers that come on Spiritually Raw are doing everything to help expand global consciousness, and in many cases putting everything on the line to share their messages about what's happening around the world for the greater good of humanity. We are living in the most unbelievable times. Some may even say biblical, scary for many and yet exhilarating for others. Together we are taking part in getting everyone acclimated to the Great Awakening process and the exciting new discoveries that lie ahead. The sad part is many of our amazing guests are being heavily censored, socially shamed, and outright banned on many platforms for exposing the truth and piercing the veil. By becoming a viewer, you bring your powerful energy towards this global movement of other truth seekers. If you're resonating with our show, please let us know by hitting the like button, sharing, subscribing, turn on the notification, and leave some comments. Together, we will turn the universal key to global harmony and create a unified world. And remember, tune in often, tell all your friends, and most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Thanks, and God bless Patriots worldwide.